All right, this is 201, week 7, part 4. The story is, and I think you just saw the Orson. You should have just seen the Orson Welles version. Um, I should really make a note to put it in the right spot after 3. All right, making a note after part 3. Okay. Um, the the story is strange. One person very famously said that Kafka stories are like religious parables, but we don't know what religion or what the religion believes. So they're a little like you found a parable from a lost religion and you're trying to understand it. Because it seems like it's designed to teach a lesson, but it's extremely frustrating. Um, and again, I think and I'm going to say this quote again because I've said it before and I really like it. Understanding makes it's sometimes it's people when people see something they don't understand, they immediately want to understand it. They want to solve it. Like, this is confusing, explain it to me. That's why if you see something, you read something confusing, you see something confusing, you immediately go on the internet and you go, like, if you see a movie with a confusing ending, you go on the internet and go, explain the ending to me. And then there's a YouTube video that says, oh, the ending seems confusing, but actually here's what it means. And then you go, ah. But understanding makes the mind lazy. Um, and not understanding is good for you. It's good to be confused. It's good to be frustrated by meaning and to try to figure something out. In the same way that it's good to lift weights that are too hard to lift, right? Because I'm sure somebody's like, why would you pick up something that's very difficult to pick up? Just don't pick it up. But it's good for your muscles to pick up things that are a little bit heavier than you're used to. And it's good for your mind to try to struggle to understand something that's a little more that's a little outside your range, and Kafka is exactly like that. Um, so, for starters, let's talk about the story. So, one of the stranger things about the story is the law. Before the law, before the law, there stands a guard. Now, for starters, there is no such building called the law. Like, what is that? Like, I don't even know. It's hard even to picture what that could be. Is it like the courts? Is it like 100 Center Street, which is where you go in New York City when you have to go to court? Um, it's hard to know what this building called the law is. It's capitalized, which I guess it's actually a feature of the German language, so maybe that's not super interesting. But like, it makes it feel like a metaphor for something. And what kind of law is in there? Is it like a place for legal laws, like don't jaywalk and don't steal, or is it a place? Or is it a place for like moral laws, like you should be nice to people, love thy neighbor? Or is it a place for physical laws, like the law of gravity, um, or the speed of light? Kafka doesn't say. And so it's interesting because it feels like it's all of those things and also none of those things. And it feels extremely important. In any case, it feels like there's stuff in there you should know about. And the man from the country comes. Also, it's interesting that there's a guard. Why is it guarded? That's the question. One of the questions. That's a question raised by the story. Why is it guarded? Before the law, there stands a guard. A man comes from the country begging admittance to the law. So, for one of the things you should see again here, just like in the Metamorphosis, is the man from the country. Um, the man from the country is he's an outsider. The law is a building with a guard, so it's like located in a city. But the man has come to the city from the country, so he's a little bit of an outsider, trying to navigate and you've seen stories where someone comes from a faraway country to a big city. Wonder Woman, for example, right? She comes from her faraway island and she travels to a big city, and when she gets there, she doesn't understand how anything works because she doesn't. In her country, they don't have ice cream and they don't have train cars, and right? It's like a different. She's used to horses, and I don't know. So and fashion is confusing to her. And there's a million movies where somebody travels to a faraway place and they need help understanding it. And so the guy from the country, and most people have experienced this. If you've ever visited a country far away, like I went to India for the first time, there was a lot of confusing stuff. I went to a restaurant and you eat food with your fingers, and I was eating like this, and then I went to go use my other hand, and they were like, no, 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 you can't use that hand. And my friend was like, you know what? Actually, sit on that hand so you don't use it because you're only supposed to use this hand while you're eating your food. And it was hard to eat because I was like, I wanted my other hand, and there's no silverware. And I was like, how do I eat this? And I was kind of just eating with one hand. And I found out they only told me later why I shouldn't use this hand. It's because in India, when you go to the bathroom, this is the hand you use to clean yourself. And so to touch food with this hand would be disgusting. So anyway, so the point is that the different places have different customs, and that when you come from far away, you don't necessarily know what they are. And the man from the country is like this. So again, it's the kind of thing where you need to start. Kafka stories don't make any sense to people, and they frustrate people and make them angry because most people try to approach a story only by using summary. And if you use summary, very hard to understand what's going on because one of your first summary questions is going to be, what is the law? Well, I don't even know. Why does this guy, right, why did the, like, why is it they won't let him in the door, but then the guard tells him the door was meant for him? Well, then why wasn't he allowed in it? Like, summary's not going to help you here. What you're going to need to navigate the story is metaphor and irony and theme. And that's why people who don't take this class and try to understand stories in terms of summary, um, people who walk out of a movie theater being like, why did that guy make that decision? And then someone else says, well, he was thinking this and this and this. That's summary. You've answered the question with summary. You can't answer Kafka stories with summary because if your question when you finish the Kafka story is, how come that guy couldn't get in the door even though the guard said that door was just for him? Why does he even have his own personal door? He's never been there before. These are summary questions and they are not going to help you. What you're going to need is metaphor questions. So you've got a couple things you want to think about. What the hell is the law a metaphor for in the first place? So a man but you've already got a sense. But if you think about things in terms of metaphor, then you think, oh, the man comes from the country to the city and he doesn't know how it works. Your first instinct should be, this is a metaphor for outsiders who don't understand, who come to some place and they don't understand. So this actually covers, just like the kid story, just like a smiley face could be hundreds of different people, thousands and millions of different people, or just in that dot dot smile face. This kind of thing, it's like the man from the country may remind you of anyone who comes from outside of a system to join into a system but doesn't understand how it fully works yet. And that could be me traveling to India. It could be you going to college for the first time and you've never been to college before and you don't know how it works. Like a lot of my students find moving from high school to college to be extremely confusing. Suddenly all their professors are saying fuck all the time. And like the assignments, like it's like attendance isn't mandatory, which is really confusing. It's not how it was in high school. So it expand. You need to use metaphor to expand out in this way to think about it. Yeah, cool. So the man comes from the country and begging admittance to the law, but the guard cannot admit him. Can he hope to enter at a later time? Well, that's possible, says the guard. The man tries to peer through the entrance. He had been taught that the law should be accessible to every man. So he feels like this should be, he's surprised. This is not what he expected. He wanted to come to the law because he thought it was something for everyone, right? Like going to church. And we have this idea that, like, for example, the court of law is supposed to theoretically be there to help everyone find justice. But I think you'll find in America also, the law is not accessible to everyone. And that certain people are not treated as well by legal authorities like the police as other people are. Talking about white people, and Black Lives Matter, and police shooting unarmed people. So this raises, the point is, it's this bigger, you got to use metaphor to kind of look at these bigger things. But the idea that everyone should get in makes it's a significant, it's supposed to be a place for everybody. So it's one of these big things like justice or whatever. Those of you who took 101 with me and are now taking 201 might want to think about it in terms of Plato and those higher heavenly forms like justice and beauty and truth. This is the law. If you didn't take that class, don't worry about it. I made my 101 students do this long philosophy book. It was about, like, anyway, stuff like this, like the law everywhere and at all time. All right, I'll pick it up in the next video, and I'll see you over there.